Hi everybody, welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting and Miss Marker's Quilt. Today I wanted to show you a quilt I've recently taken off the long arm, and this is a quilt that a gentleman has made for his sister. It is quite stunning, to say the least. The color sense that he has is just wonderful. But they asked me to quilt this quilt, and besides quilting the quilt, they wanted me to put the binding on by machine, and that's not something that I often do because it's really difficult to make binding by machine look really good. So today I am going to show you how I went about attaching the binding to this quilt. So stay tuned if you'd like to see exactly how I did it. I have a king-size quilt here. It's huge. But the customer has asked that I put the binding on, and they have asked that I machine sew it down. So when you turn a quilt over to this side and you go to stitch it, the normal process is to hand stitch this down. Well, the customer wants me to machine sew it down. Lots of times what happens when you machine sew binding down, you're sewing from the front side because you want to sew, I got a thread there. You want to sew right here so that you're sewing in the ditch. Hopefully you can see that. I'll lay it out a little bit better. So what you want to do is you want to sew. So what you try to do is you try to sew right here in the ditch so that it really doesn't show, because you just don't want it showing. So this is how I'm going to accomplish this, okay? First let me turn this over so that you can see the back side. All right, so I've gotten it turned over. So now, whoops, sorry about that. Now you're looking at the back side of the quilt. I'm going to take it, I'm going to take the binding and I'm going to flip it around. Once I get my binding flipped around, I'm going to take a number of my Wonder Clips and I am going to just clip it right there. All right, get a little bit bigger of a spot here. So what I've done is I'm taking it right around to the back side, and I'm just using the Wonder Clips to stabilize it. Now, this method is not something that you're going to do quickly. It takes a lot of time and patience. All right, so I've got an area from here to here. Can you see it from here? Well, let me do it diagonally. I've got an area from here to here that I will begin working on. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it back over to the right side, and I'm going to pin right where I want to sew. I'm going to flip it back over and I'm going to check to make sure that I'm right there where I want to be. And I'm going to do this all the way down one side of the quilt. Now see, on this one I'm kind of getting close to the edge, so now I got to really watch it with my next one. I want to make sure that I'm at the edge, but I do not want to go over. All right. So see what happened here? I lost it. I'm going to flip it back. I'm going to take my pin and I'm going to first go down here. Turn it over. Yep, I caught it. Now I'm going to put my pin right in back again. and take it right back around. So there I am. So I'm going to continue to do this. Now I have been asked why, when these Wonder Clips line it up for you, because there's only 1/4 inch here, why I do the secondary pinning. And the reason why I do is because I have tried it before with just the Wonder Clips, and what I find is it does move. And when it moves, it isn't what it's supposed to be. So consequently, I do both. I don't want to take the chance of it being too far off and it not being right and then having to rip it out, especially when it's not my quilt. I just feel more comfortable doing it this way. So that's what I do. And I find the combination of the two, the Wonder Clips and the pins, do keep it lined right up. And what I do is I do not remove the pins until after, or the Wonder Clips until I'm sewing it. So as I go down sewing this, I will sew one side at a time, doing all of this pinning, and then I will come back and do the next size. The biggest thing with this one is the quilt is just so large. I think it's like 112 by 102 or something like that. The quilt is quite substantial, but it is also very beautiful. And I really want it to look nice because it's a present for somebody's sister. So I think it's important that it looks nice. Oops, sorry, I don't mean to be off camera. So as you can see, I did turn the clips the other way because I'm going to be sewing here, so I want the flat side on the back. I'm good there. So I'm just going to bring it around. Whoops. And I just want to make sure that I'm right there at the edge so that I keep it as straight as I possibly can. I hope I'm on camera. I'm just off a little bit. Well, still I am. There. Okay, so there's another one. So here we keep going. I'm gonna just keep right on going down, doing this. I really do like these Wonder Clips. I think they're great at holding things really steady for you. And I've used them for a long time, and I do like them. They're pretty nice. If you don't already have some, those are a great thing to put down on your wish list so that you can get some at some point, because they are definitely, I use mine all the time. It's just one of those nifty little tools that I tend to use quite a bit. One of my little favorite notions, yeah. All right, see how close I am right there to the edge? It's a lot different than it is on all of the other ones, so I'm gonna wanna redo that. Part of the reason why it's off a little bit is because I've got a seam there, but I want to compensate for that, whether it means I pull it a little bit tighter or what. I don't want it like that on the back side, because that's something that you would notice. Okay, that's better, except for now I'm high on this side. It's fussy work. It's not, it is fussy work. That's all there is to it. There, that one's better. But when you pin it down like this, And then when you go to sew it, it's much easier because it's all ready for you. All of the guesswork has really been taken out of it. It's pretty flat and you can just start sewing. Now you've seen how much I've had to adjust this. Can you imagine if you just started sewing it, how uneven your binding would be on the back side? It just wouldn't look as pretty. We don't want it like that. We want it to look pretty. We want it to look beautiful. All right, we are going to give this a shot at filming, and I wanted you to see how I'm doing it. There is a little line right here on my walking foot, and I'm lining that line up on my walking foot right here with the very, very edge of the binding. So what I'm going to do is I've got my needle down and I'm just going to start sewing, and hopefully you're going to be able to see exactly where I am. I did a couple of steps. I am back stitching, but now here we go. I'm going to go all the way down to this corner, and I am taking my time, but you got to remember I've got to pin quite a bit too. I just removed my one pin. Now I'm coming up to another one, and as I get close, see, I stop with the needle down. I'm going to remove that pin, and then I'm going to very carefully continue to hold it down so that it will stay in place. So I really don't want that to roll or move away, because then all of a sudden all of my work at pinning is gone. So the same thing here, and I'm going to bring it right up to that corner, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I know this isn't the greatest angle through here. And I'm going to back stitch one, going to forward, I'm going to leave it needle down, and then I'm going to rotate it. And then I can see at this stage if I've gone in close enough, and I can see that I haven't. I'm going to swing it right back around again. I'm going to go another step forward, or stitch. Okay, then I'm going to rotate this around, and I'm going to put my presser foot back down, and now I'm going to change the angle. So hang on just a minute, I'll be right back. All right, so now let's try this angle a little bit, so that I think this one might be better. Trying to show you a couple of different ways so that everybody really can figure out what I'm doing. So now I'm going to remove my pin, and I'm still holding everything down, and I'm going to keep right on sewing, and I am sewing pretty slow. This is not a quick sewing thing. This is not something you're going to whip off in just a minute or two. I'm going to keep right on going. Just a little bit more, and I'll be able to show you the back side of it so that you can see how this comes out. Careful of needles. I'm telling myself that, not you. Because you do really need to be careful. But boy, those needles, and that many of them close together, really does help to keep this pretty flat so that you can catch the back binding the first time through. So I'm going to flatten it out just a little bit more. And again, I'm using this line, which lines up perfectly to my needle, and I'm lining that up right to the edge of my binding. Okay? Okay, I think I can show you now the back side. There's what my binding looks like on the back side, and then if I flip it over, this is what it looks like on the front side. You really can't see it tremendously on the front side. You gotta, I mean, you're really close to, the camera's really close to it. You really don't see it. Now I'm kind of pushing the binding away so that you can. So there it is. So you can see on this side of the quilt, it's very difficult to really see exactly how I attach the binding. Then if I flip it over to this side, see how nicely it just seems to line up very straight on the edge. That's what you're trying to do, is just really keep it consistent so that it looks nice. You just don't want, see how nice that looks? That's what you're shooting for. You're shooting for it just to be really consistent all the way down the quilt. And for it not to show so much on the other side. Thank you so much for joining me today while I showed you how to apply binding by your sewing machine. If you have any questions, please do leave them below. I do read all the comments and I try hard to respond to as many as possible. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel, and I will be seeing you again really soon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye.